all cities, for all towns. Okay, let's continue with the last presentation. José Manuel Vivó is going to tell us about a combination of a mobile device and the gvSIG platform.
Hola, buenos días.
Good afternoon. My name is José Manuel Vivó. Everybody calls me Chema, though. Chema is my nickname. I'm going to present an application in which I took part. It is very interesting. Let me explain. This application allows users to manage reports about environmental breaches and infractions in the Valencian region. What is the application all about? Well, it is a tool that collects data from reporting statements and handling all the data in a central, coordinated way, avoiding paperwork, lost information, etc. This is the form, the reporting form, which has been automated. The police and the security forces, when they see an environmental crime, they fill in this type of form. A copy is given to the perpetrator, and then they file these forms back in the office, in the police station. What are the goals and the requirements? Basically, to have a centralized database with all the reports, with all the files for the police men and women to be able to do inquiries. Environmental police go to different areas and all data are collected without a connection. Basically, they enter all this information in the little terminals and finally it is entered into a server. When they are on site, they also enter, or we want them to enter, the coordinates for us to know where the crime took place, environmental crime. The application is very interesting because it integrates data, including authentication regarding the officer, the police officer, and the department, in this case, the regional department. These data are geographic and therefore they can be depicted, represented on a map. Another feature is to be economically profitable or accessible. That's why it has been developed on Android 2.3, which means that terminals running on Android can be used, which are very economical, 200, 250 euros for a device. This is the picture, all right, of this application. We have the environmental officer on site, and then that person goes to the office and processes the information. You can see a phantom line in between because obviously data do not have to be recorded on the very moment of the collection, but the idea is for everything to be automated. Right, here's the layout, the architecture. We produced an Android application for data collection. Information stored locally first, but it is then sent to a server with gvNIX, which is a bridge in between the app and the authentication of users in the department. We used a PostGIS database for us to be able to store geographic information, and for viewing things for editing purposes at the office, we used gvSIG. Besides, we used gvSIG Mini to be able to check geographical information layers that might be needed by the officer. We used a number of tools, Android SDK, In this case, this is the terminal. Google Play services, which allow us to collect information on position, and other tools that make the development a lot easier. A very interesting thing in the project, the application was developed based on Google guidelines so that users feel comfortable when using the application. To that end, on the Google site, we checked their guides, their guidelines, which were very helpful in preparing the application and in planning all the actions. We also used Maven to make the building process homogeneous and for it to be easily replicated. Here we see some screenshots of the application. First of all, you need to do the settings. You have to configure it. To that end, you need to have a number of data with a server. You need a username, a password, which will then be given to the environmental officer. It also requires, some ID information about the officer, the environmental agent or officer. Before you enter the application, you need to log in, otherwise the application will not work. So, of course, you need to be connected when you use it for the first time. This is the main screen. We have a list of the reports, the reporting files. They can be grouped. In this case, they have been grouped based on status. The questionnaires may be partially filled in, and therefore you can group them as drafts or drafted proposals. You can see a number of tabs, Todos, or we tried to include icons as well, as you can see on the right-hand side. These icons are supplied by Android for all applications, for people to be familiar with them. Icons also facilitate viewing of the status. The status can be either draft or completed, and they can be synchronized with the server. You can tick them or check them for them to be sent when you are connected next time, or you can keep them on hold. You can have them on hold for whatever reason, if you are awaiting some information, etc. Actions can be taken by checking on the element, by ticking, or by using the toolbar at the top. When you create a questionnaire, you basically fill it in. It's like the paper questionnaire, the paper form that I showed you earlier. But now you don't need to fill in all the areas, you just have to add the relevant data. You can do it all in one go or partially, leave it for later. But when the environmental agent or officer arrives in the office, he or she can complete the questionnaire. Google Play is accessed and asked to give the location, and then the data are entered on the form. If the signal, the GPS signal, is not very good, all this information could be included later. So the form keeps both the status and the location. As you can see, the officer based on a number of filters, can make inquiries and see the files that have been registered. Searchers can be contacted for the officer's files or for other officers' files. But obviously this requires data to be interconnected, otherwise searches are not possible. Usually searches are for recorded questionnaires. And here we see some screens with settings such as synchronization. The application has been integrated into the accounts system of Android. But when we synchronize our email, all files pending synchronization will also be synchronized together with local files on the server. The aim is for future applications similar to this application to use the same account, an account owned by the Consellería, the Forestry Department. On the right-hand side, you can see synchronization for each individual piece of information saved. In this case, denuncias medioambientales, environmental reports, and infractions. Synchronization is automatic, based on Android, on the Android system, but it can also be done manually. We used gvSIG Mini to be able to install the maps that the officers might need, maps that are owned by the Consellería, the department. With regard to the web server, we used gvNIX, which is useful not only for web applications. You can do services applications, this being our case. Very quickly, it allows you to use a functional application and integrate a number of functionalities which are very helpful when you develop an application. gvNIX is based on libraries and framework spinning. We use gvNIX to generate the basic project and the services. Communication with the terminal is done with gvSIG through the web REST in this case. Information is sent in the JSON format, and we also used Hibernate and the Spring tool, the Eclipse customization tool as well, which allows you to work with normal Java project and other projects too with Spring. The desktop, we used gvSIG 2. Why? Because the advantage of gvSIG 2 is its modularity. It really allows you and allows the developers to fit in our tools without potential interference with other already installed tools. In this respect, we used and follow the gvSIG philosophy because we used a plugin which allows you to integrate things with the rest without impairing existing functionalities. In fact, when we included the layer with the information of the questionnaires, this layer is included as a standard layer, as you would use in geoprocesses, a theme map, etc. It's just information, but it is included with a filter and with standard symbology. And later you can change that symbology as you please. Layer tools. Here the tool allows you to add the information layer, filtered. We also have a specific information tool to be able to view the data on the questionnaire in a user-friendly way. It includes a caption that is useful to the user and which can be personalized by the user later, and it also allows them to use the rest of the tools in gvSIG. There are other forms without geographic information. In this case, tools have been included to do searching activities. Basically, these are filter windows, and by ticking the element you want to see, you can view it, edit it, etc. What are the advantages of this solution? Well, all the information is centralized in a single site, and by having centralized information, we do not lose it, we do not lose the data. Users can make inquiries at any time for all questionnaires, for all reports. Besides, it is very economical because none of the tools are expensive, or the functionalities do not require expensive tools. Besides, all tools are integrated in gvSIG in such a way that all data can be processed with any tool. At this moment in time, we already have the application developed on the terminal. We now need to integrate authentication, and we have to personalize gvSIG Mini and do the plugging and finally launch the product. But if you want to have a look at the application on my mobile phone, I can show you. That's it. That's it from me. But I think it's really interesting because it could actually be applied to any problem related to data collection in the field. And it can really run on a small budget. It allows you to have real-time data and have them centralized very quickly. Unlike the PDAs that were mentioned earlier, I suppose this system could be a way of collecting data without additional costs for a company or for an organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Chema, for your presentation. Of course, this is a very interesting example of how we can use the... Hello? In the case of display of data in the mobile phone, which is used gvSIG Mini, you know that sometimes instead of using medium-low range mobile phones, can we use other things besides Google in order to display the application? Or DRF is not used to display quantities in the computer and can be used for other things. First of all, gvSIG is interesting in order to represent the layers of information that is providing to the environmental agents. With the level of terminals now, in order to represent those layers which are WMS, I don't think it should have any problem in visualizing it, and I think it's very agile too, because the gvSIG mini, no introduction has been done in order not to be able to analyze. So then we thought that gvSIG mini installed with the installation of those layers which are interesting for the people, and the application of data capture independent, so that you can do this capture in a more simple way and efficient too. Perhaps there is a problem when working with Google Maps without connection is not so easy as doing it with gvSIG Minim, because it allows you to work without connection already in the native program, because the pictures can be captured in the gvSIG Mini. We are in a conference of gvSIG, so asking why you didn't do that for the Google platform is a bit I know how to say that. Perhaps this is also sovereignty of ownership of the application. It's not just because I don't like to use Google. It was not a criticism. Thank you for your question. I would like to ask, this application is exclusively for instance, forest officers or for the public administration. Didn't you think in making it available to the general public? Perhaps I want to do tracking, and I can use this gvSIG Mini with less coordinates, and a forest agent can check that. It could be a way of extending the database. This is something that is not our task. The need now could be this one. Of course, you can extend the application, that's not a problem at all, but step by step. It was just in order to extend the database, because as a forest officer, you can be in a very large area alone, and if you are also in contact with tracking people and with other people, then that could be a good thing. Well, it could be a question of extending the application. I can ask. Another question I would like to ask, in most of the cases you do that in exterior conditions. Why don't you read directly from the GPS? Because one of the restrictions of the terminals is that they should have GPS, whether they are large or small. Well, the Google Play allows us to make the capture of the point, and it allows you to do that, and your precision will be one taken directly. And we can configure it, which is the type of need that you have, and the Google services allow you the development of the application, because you are more independent from that. Yeah, but in some other cases you can have quite an accurate information, because if it's using the GCM tower, it's going to give you a wrong position, and can you correct manually the position which is given automatically by the model? When they receive a position, do they inform from the accuracy of this capture? Well, the user can try some more accurate captures, and then I don't know if this is more kind of a suggestion when it tells you where you are positioned and where is the instance taking place, that it allows you the capture of geographical information is done by the data application. In order to simplify the development, we're not mixing both developments. So in data application, we we cannot put the coordinates right now. Well, I do not want to be longer. I think that we have fulfilled our aim. Thank you to the lecturers and thank you to you for attending this meeting. Thank you also to the other lecturers.